Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for The Americans Season 2, Episode 7, Arpanet. And I was really looking forward to this episode because of what this episode was all about. It was all about the Arpanet, which was a huge thing in the 1980s, and one of the things that The Americans does so well is showing things that happened in the 1980s. For example, last year with Ronald Reagan getting shot. That was a great episode when they did that. And, this episode looked like it was going to be a really, really good one. And it was a really good episode. Was it my favorite episode of the season? No. I thought that this episode actually was a step down. It wasn't, it was still absolutely amazing because the show can do no wrong, as I've said. But I felt like it was a step down from the past two episodes. However, it still was a great episode. My only problem with this episode is we didn't get anything with Paige in this episode, so no development with her in this episode. And also, we didn't see her and Elizabeth go to a prayer meeting like I thought they were going to her church group. But they didn't do that. And also, we didn't really see a lot of Philip and Elizabeth themselves. That was definitely a big thing. I was surprised we didn't see any scenes with them by themselves, but we didn't. So, but I still really enjoyed the episode. It still was really good as usual. It still was amazing. But let's just get to it. So, we first the main plot, of course, had to do with the Arpanet. So basically, Philip met up with Kate and his new handler. Claudia is pretty much MIA. I don't know where she is. Again, it seems like they're not really. She's, again, very jealous of her, so she informs him that he has to bug the Arpanet. And she gives him the bug, which is the size of a modern laptop. And basically, we can see right here that she has no idea what she's talking about. And, Philip asks her specifically, what's the Arpanet? And he says, well, I still don't really know. You can't really explain it very well. And she says, well, I'm not as, good with that. So I'm kind of thinking that possibly they might bring Claudia back and they're going to realize this girl is not good for us. Because she's not really the best person to give information to Philip. She really had no idea what she was talking about. And she even said to him, I have no idea what I'm talking about. I'm not good with computers. And basically she tells him, she tells him that he has to hook it up by the government's Arpanet and make a copy of it and then bring the bug back to the center. So he breaks into a house and he finds the guy Charles drunk. This is the guy he's going to work with to help him with the Arpanet. And he's passed out in bed. And, so he's passed out in bed. So, Philip and Charles go undercover and meet up with a professor to discuss computer science, and he explains to them how the Arpanet works. He explains to them there's a beast upstairs, a huge computer, basically, that's what they mean, that generates information. Because remember, this was the 80s. Computers were just starting to come out. So, computers were pretty big, at this point, but they still weren't exactly, not everybody had one. So, this is pretty much like the beginning of computers. Basically, it generates information and says it is the interface process messenger, which is like an information highway system. So, then Charles heads back to the professor's office after hours and says he left his glasses inside. The security guard lets him in. Charles rummages through the desk, finds the passcode he needs to get into the room where the beast is located. Philip is already inside and undercover as a janitor. Basically, he's ready to do what he needs to do. And there's a wrench in their plan when they realize the lab is not empty. And Philip then sets off a very loud alarm that goes off. And, the alarm in the building is going off. Everyone clears out of the lab. This is all their plan on the way to, destroy what they need to destroy. And he hooks the bug his handler gave him up to the large computer and waits for it to copy the information. And once he finishes his next mission, he meets up with Charles he does what he needs to do. And then once he finishes up his mission with Charles, he goes for drinks. Now, this is definitely a very interesting scene here, because what Charles and Philip talk about is very, very interesting. Charles says it was exhilarating, that they did that. As scary as it was and as dangerous as it was exhilarating. And Philip informs Charles that he actually had to kill someone, because when he came back in the room, there was someone, someone came back to the room while he was waiting for the bug to copy, and obviously he didn't want to be found, so he killed them. And Charles says it had to be done, but Philip said he did not have to kill him, and Philip is right. There could have been another way for him to do it. He could have easily just, he made up a lie of some sort, And definitely, you know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with this Charles guy. I'm assuming we're going to see him again. I enjoy his character. I kind of like this, you know, I like his character. I like where he's going. Charles says he had a grand old time and to call him anytime he needs him again. And after Charles leaves, Phillip finds out the bartender that he has, finds out from the bartender that he has been drinking again. So that is why Charles was, like, so calm about everything, because, Charles now has a drinking problem, so I don't know where that's gonna go, but it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes, but, I guess we'll just have to see, so. Basically, that was the main plot of the episode, and my only complaint is that there wasn't a whole lot of that in this episode, because of, you know, it was taken up by some other stuff. Also, we had, of course, the recurring thing of Lucia, and, Elizabeth and Phillip, they had 2 scenes together in this episode, which, again, I was not a huge fan of that. I would have wanted them to have more scenes together, but they didn't. But they meet up with Lucia for lunch. She will be assisting them with their plan to take down Larig, and Phillip is upset that Lucia attended a talk that Larig was giving in her country. And Lucia insists that she was just a face among many, and Elizabeth tells Lucia that Larig will provide her identification to get into a training camp. She will go undercover as an instructor. They want her to deactivate the current in the fence so that they can get in. And Elizabeth meets up with Larig in a park for a meeting while Phillip stands by with a super rifle in case he makes a move. And Larig reveals that he won't be able to make the meeting at the training camp because he's leaving for Nicaragua and will be gone about 6 months. And Elizabeth tells him that they will still need his help getting on base. He ignores her and tells her he is surprised she came to meet him alone, and then gets up and walks away. So then she meets up with Lucia and tells her that they need a new plan and Larig won't be there to help her get in. Lucia snaps and says that Larig has to be there. She had planned to kill him and to avenge her father's death, and Elizabeth tells her she doesn't care how much of a monster Larig is. Lucia cannot harm him. He's an asset to their cause. And, so then definitely this was very interesting. Elizabeth heads home, and she goes up to Phillip, and she basically says that Lucia is planning to kill has been planning to kill Larig all along. And Phillip tells her she'll get over it, she's young and impetuous, but Elizabeth is very worried that she's gonna kill Larig, because, again, they don't know for sure that that was the guy that killed, you know, Leanne and Emmett. She doesn't want to do something wrong, and Lucia's on a killing spree, it seems. You know, she just killed this one guy. Now she's planning on killing Larig, so I think Elizabeth is worried. This girl's going on a killing spree, and, you know, she needs to be stopped before she goes on a killing spree, basically. That's what Elizabeth is thinking. So yeah, that was definitely very interesting. And then something very interesting happened after that. I don't know where this is going to go, but Henry heads outside to play, and he tells his mom he'll be home by dinner. But when he goes inside, he sneaks into someone's house by letting himself in with the key under the mat. He raids the refrigerator, sits down in the living room to play a video game on the TV. I don't know what that's for, if maybe that had to do something with Paige or something, but again, Paige was not in this episode, so that was the only reason I was not the hugest fan of this episode, was because there's a lot of stuff going on in this episode, but not a lot was answered. There wasn't exactly explanations for everything. It wasn't the hugest, you know, and not every episode can be perfect. I still thought, again, this was still a great episode, but it's still not everything can be perfect. And the reason why there wasn't as much with the Arpanet or with Phillip and Elizabeth is because a lot of the stuff was taken up by Nina and Oleg. They had a lot to do in this episode, and my one thing that I do want to say is that this was the first episode with Nina and Oleg where they speak to each other in English, not in Russian. There are a lot of scenes in this episode where they're speaking to each other in English and they're not speaking in Russian. I found that very, very interesting. Of course, the first scene they are, but the other scenes they're not. We see Nina, she's filling Oleg in on Stan's request for her to take a polygraph test before he will protect her, because she has to take a polygraph test, and that's actually what a lot of this episode focused on, was this polygraph test. And Oleg tells her she has no choice but to do it. She tells them that if she fails the test, Stan will kill her, but they don't seem to care. So she meets up with Stan and tells him that she will take the test and he will have his proof. He tells her that she can take the test tonight, and Oleg hooks her up to a lie detector test and explains to her how it tests her heart rate, blood pressure, pulse, etc. And he begins quizzing her so that she can practice being the test and lying to Stan later. Now, in this scene, they're talking to each other in English, and I'm like, why are they speaking in English? I found that very strange. I'm like, all this time, they've been talking to each other in Russian. Why are they speaking in English all of a sudden? I just found that very, very weird. Now, Nina's kind of worried. She's not exactly sure if this is going to work, but they're still practicing on the polygraph test. He explains to her that the machine is like a wasp, and if she panics, it will sting her. And basically she has to remain calm, but she's very, very worried. So she doesn't really know what's going on. So she heads to Stan's and sits down for a polygraph test. Stan sits on the bed and observes. The tester asks her if she's pretending to be a Soviet spy and really spying on the FBI. Among many other questions, Stan's delighted when the test is over, and he tells Nina that she passed. And basically, she's still lying to him. You know, we know she wants nothing to do. You know, we're not sure if she's lying to him or whatever, but you know, it seemed like in last week's episode she was done with him, so I was kind of confused about what was going on here, because she had that whole thing last week of saying, I'm done with you, I don't want anything to do with you. And yet now here she's completely fine with Stan because the polygraph test leaves, and Stan apologized to Nina for doubting her. Stan wants to get her out, but Nina says she doesn't want to leave him. She wants to stay. She isn't scared of Oleg. Stan says he will hand over the files on Oleg to protect her. But then we find out at the end of the episode that this was all complete bullshit, and it was all a plan of Oleg and Nina's. Nina, you know, leaves Stan, heads to Oleg's house, so happy, basically as a reward to him, strips off her clothes, completely naked on the bed. You know, she's completely naked on the bed, with him, and climbs into bed with him, and, he tells her that she is, you know, basically, she tells him this is his reward, he can do whatever he wants with her, and she tells him that she loves him, which was a pretty big thing. She says she wants nothing to do with Stan. She doesn't give a shit about anything that Stan is doing, and doesn't really care about him at all. And Oleg says, you know, what's gonna happen with Stan? She says, I don't care. She literally says, I don't care about him, I don't want anything to do with him, it's all just our plan. I have no actual feelings for him. You're the one I have feelings for. So, she, is with Oleg, and he tells her that she's an amazing woman, and that's how this episode ends. So, you know, Oleg and Nina are together now, it seems. So, I was really, you know, I thought this episode was good. It was not the best episode of the season. Definitely not as good as the past 2 episodes we've had. You know, I think, like, every show has some sort of a weak episode, and I feel like this episode, while it was good, it was kind of weak. It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was actually really, really good. And, I mean, that's not a bad thing for the Americans, because the Americans is hardly ever bad, and this episode was not bad. It was just, it was not as good as the previous ones. The previous ones have been so, so good. And this one was amazing too, but not as amazing as the other ones we've been getting. But a couple of things I am wondering. You know, what is Philip going to do about Charles' drinking problem? What do you think is going to happen there? Lucia. Are they going to be able to stop Lucia from killing Larig? I don't think they're going to be able to. I think Lucia is going to kill Larig, and they're not going to know. Also, what was up with Henry? What was with that weird scene? I'm trying to figure out where they're going with that, but I'm not entirely sure, because that kind of just came out of nowhere, in my opinion. I'm really interested in seeing what's going to happen there. The other thing I'm wondering is their handler, Kate. As I said, she does not seem very, not educated, but she doesn't really know what she's talking about. And Claudia knew everything she was talking about. She knew, like, she knew what was going on with this person. She knew who they were, what's about, stuff about them. She knew everything about, these people. And it seems like this girl, while she's a good handler and she does give them the information they need, she's not as good as Claudia. So I kind of feel like now Claudia is eventually going to come back, and they're going to say to Claudia, we made a mistake, this girl's not good, you need to come back. And I think that's probably what's going to happen. So, because I personally, I don't like seeing this girl as a handler. I don't think she's good. I don't think she's going to be a very reliable source to them, and I hope that they soon realize that she's not the best handler that they've had. They've had much better handlers than her. I think they'll realize that soon. But, let me know what you guys thought of this episode. Again, I thought this episode was really, really good. It was really good, but it wasn't as good as the previous 2. And also, what's going on with Oleg and Nina now? I think, you know, it's going to be interesting to see there. I'm thinking Stan's eventually going to find out their plan, because Stan's working with Oleg, as we know, and he's, you know, he's eventually going to find out what's going on here. Because she keeps saying, I hate you too. She went from I hate you to I love you in this episode. And that definitely is going to have Stan thinking, what's going on here? We haven't really gotten to see a lot of Stan's input this season of her. I mean, we've seen it kinda, but it's basically focused a lot more on Nina this season, it seems. And I'd like to see a little bit more of what Stan is thinking. Hopefully in the next episode we get that. It looks like the next episode is going to be huge. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. But again, let me know what you guys saw of this episode. Was this episode as good as the other episodes? I thought it was still a great episode. I just was not as into it as I was with the other episodes. So that's it for my review. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. And I'll see you guys then. Okay, bye.